Okay, class. So this week's lecture is divided into two parts, pancreatic function and gastrointestinal function. So before I start with the lecture, I want you to watch two video clips. Okay, this is a review of what you have learned in anatomy and physiology about the roles and anatomy of the pancreas and the digestive system. Okay, so watch first.
The role and anatomy of the pancreas. The pancreas is an important organ in the digestive system. It is located in the upper abdomen, directly behind the stomach and next to the small intestine. In most adults, it is between 6 and 10 inches long and 2 inches wide. The pancreas is comprised primarily of a network of tubes or pancreatic ducts that release liquids into the upper portion of the small intestine, called the duodenum. Anatomically, the pancreas is divided into three regions: the head, the body, and the tail. The pancreas has two functions, endocrine and exocrine. Its endocrine function is to produce the chemicals or hormones that regulate blood sugar, such as insulin. Its exocrine function is to produce enzymes that help to digest food. Pancreatic amylase breaks down carbohydrates or starches into glucose. Proteases break down protein into amino acids, and lipases break down fats. Because these digestive enzymes are so powerful, they are wrapped in a protective layer while they are in the pancreas. To reach the gastrointestinal tract, the digestive enzymes travel through the pancreatic ducts and are eventually released into the duodenum at the major papilla, also known as the ampulla of Vater. Once they are completely out of the pancreas, the protective layer is removed and the enzymes become active. Bile from the gallbladder also enters the duodenum at the major papilla. Bile breaks apart fat into smaller fat droplets, which are easier for lipase to digest. When the pancreas is healthy, it contributes to a healthy digestive system. However, when our pancreas does not function correctly and is unwell, we can have trouble digesting food properly or maintaining our blood sugar in a healthy range. The consequences of an unwell pancreas may include diarrhea, bloating, flatulence, oily and foul-smelling stool, weight loss, malnutrition, poor blood sugar control, and diabetes. Heavy alcohol consumption, high-fat diets, eating large meals, being overweight, and tobacco products can put stress on your pancreas, causing it to work less well. There are also some genetic conditions that affect the pancreas, notably cystic fibrosis. To help keep your pancreas healthy, eat a varied diet that is rich in fruits and vegetables. Include fish and white meats as favored sources of protein. Limit high-fat foods and alcohol to special occasions. Maintain a healthy weight, and watch your cholesterol and triglyceride levels.
Okay, so that's the pancreas. So let's move on now to the second. You have the digestive system. Okay.
Comprised of 10 organs, covering 9 meters, and containing over 20 specialized cell types. This is one of the most diverse and complicated systems in the human body. Its parts continuously work in unison to fulfill a singular task, transforming the raw materials of your food into the nutrients and energy that keep you alive. Spanning the entire length of your torso, the digestive system has 4 main components. First, there's the gastrointestinal tract, a twisting channel that transports your food and has an internal surface area of between 30 and 40 square meters, enough to cover half a badminton court. Second, there's the pancreas, gallbladder, and liver, a trio of organs that break down food using an array of special juices. Third, the body's enzymes, hormones, nerves, and blood all work together to break down food, modulate the digestive process, and deliver its final products. Finally, there's the mesentery, a large stretch of tissue that supports and positions all your digestive organs in the abdomen, enabling them to do their jobs. The digestive process begins before food even hits your tongue. Anticipating a tasty morsel, glands in your mouth start to pump out saliva. We produce about 1.5 liters of this liquid each day. Once inside your mouth, chewing combines with the sloshing saliva to turn food into a moist lump called the bolus. Enzymes present in the saliva break down any starch. Then your food finds itself at the rim of a 25 centimeter long tube called the esophagus, down which it must plunge to reach the stomach. Nerves in the surrounding esophageal tissue sense the bolus's presence and trigger peristalsis, a series of defined muscular contractions. That propels the food into the stomach, where it's left at the mercy of the muscular stomach walls, which pound the bolus, breaking it into chunks. Hormones secreted by cells in the lining trigger the release of acids and enzyme-rich juices from the stomach wall that start to dissolve the food and break down its proteins. These hormones also alert the pancreas, liver, and gallbladder to produce digestive juices and transfer bile, a yellowish-green liquid that digests fat, in preparation for the next stage. After 3 hours inside the stomach, the once shapely bolus is now a frothy liquid called chyme, and it's ready to move into the small intestine. The liver sends bile to the gallbladder, which secretes it into the first portion of the small intestine, called the duodenum. Here, it dissolves the fats floating in the slurry of chyme so they can be easily digested by the pancreatic and intestinal juices that have leached onto the scene. These enzyme-rich juices break the fat molecules down into fatty acids and glycerol for easier absorption into the body. The enzymes also carry out the final deconstruction of proteins into amino acids and carbohydrates into glucose. This happens in the small intestine's lower regions, the jejunum and ileum, which are coated in millions of tiny projections called villi. These create a huge surface area to maximize molecule absorption and transference into the bloodstream. The blood takes them on the final leg of their journey to feed the body's organs and tissues. But it's not over quite yet. Leftover fiber, water, and dead cells sloughed off during digestion make it into the large intestine, also known as the colon. The body drains out most of the remaining fluid through the intestinal wall. What's left is a soft mass called stool. The colon squeezes this byproduct into a pouch called the rectum, where nerves sense it expanding and tell the body when it's time to expel the waste. The byproducts of digestion exit through the anus, and the food's long journey, typically lasting between 30 and 40 hours, is finally complete.
Okay, so that's the review of anatomy and physiology about the pancreas and the gastrointestinal tract. Okay, so I'm going to start now the lecture with the pancreatic function. So pancreas is a digestive accessory gland. It is involved in the digestive process, but it is located outside of the gastrointestinal system. And this is composed of two distinct types of tissues. The endocrine component is composed of the islets of Langerhans, which accounts around 1%, no? Okay, of the pancreas. So the endocrine cells don't release their secretions into the pancreatic ducts. Instead, of course, they release hormones such as your insulin and glucagon into the bloodstream. Okay. So ito yung ating islets of Langerhans. Ayan. No? So the hormones made by these uh, endocrine cells are released into the bloodstream. So what are the hormones secreted? So you have the insulin, the glucagon, okay, the somatostatin, and you have the gastrin. Okay, so so the bulk of the pancreas, around 99%, is composed of the exocrine cells, okay, that produce the enzymes to help with the digestion of the food. Okay, so when food enters the stomach, the exocrine cells release the pancreatic enzyme. So you watch that in the video, right? Okay, into a system of small ducts. Okay, uh, that lead to the main pancreatic duct. So, ito yon, no? So, ito. Okay, you have the main pancreatic duct there. You have the acinar cells. These are the cells that produce, okay, and transport the enzymes that are passed to the duodenum. So, this the duodenum, and then you have the gallbladder, and you have the uh, bile coming from the gallbladder. Okay? So, ganyan yan. No? So, 1% konti, ito mas marami yung galing sa, is made up of the exocrine cells. So, yan. Yan yung napanood natin sa video. This is very important. Basta alam nyo lang, first, the endocrine, you have the hormone releasing, that's just 1%. And then you have the exocrine, yan yung pinakamarami, 99%. Okay? So, yan. No? So, napakadali lang naman ito and you discuss this in your anatomy and physiology. Okay, tama? No? So, you have there. So, very important. Basta kaya alam nyo na kailangan yung bile from the gallbladder, and then you have the pancreatic enzymes. Yan ay pupunta both in the duodenum, okay, help in the digestion of food. Okay, so let's discuss now the pancreatic fluid. So this is a protein rich, okay, clear, colorless, okay, watery. Okay, in addition to the enzymes, di ba, sabi natin kanina, may mga enzymes yan. The pancreatic juice or pancreatic fluid also contains water, okay, salts, okay, the sodium, okay, then potassium, okay, and the sodium here is the same as that of the serum, the amount in the serum, pareho lang. And then of course, very important is the sodium bicarbonate. Okay, so para saan itong sodium bicarbonate na ito? This is responsible for the slight alkalinity of pancreatic juice. It maintains the level of 7.1 to 8.2 up to 8.3 in your book in Bishop. Okay, anong purpose nito? So this buffers the acidic gastric juice coming from the stomach. Okay? So 'di ba masyadong acid yung galing sa stomach natin, no? So pagdating doon sa ating duodenum, so dapat ma-neutralize siya, okay? So because of this sodium bicarbonate. So yung tissues doon sa ating duodenum ay hindi kagaya ng doon sa ating stomach that can withstand great acidity, high acidity, no? Okay, so kaya merong sodium bicarbonate. Yan yung trabaho niyan, no? So, ang purpose niyan, again, this serves as buffer, okay? This is to buffer the acidic gastric juice coming from the stomach, okay? And this is to, of course, inactivate the pepsin from the stomach. So this also creates, no, okay, optimum pH for the activity of enzymes in the small intestine. So hindi pwedeng mag-react ng mga ito mga enzymes na to pag masyadong acidic. So kaya kailangan nila ng slightly alkaline, 7.1 to 8.2 pH. And ang purpose niyan ay may function niyan is the sodium bicarbonate. So here now, okay, so ito yung ating composition ng ating pancreatic fluid. So again, unlike your gallbladder na greenish, yellowish, ito ay colorless. Okay, so these are the enzymes produced by the pancreas. So again, in the video, pancreatic enzymes are active in the digestion of carbohydrates, proteins, fats, and nucleic acids. Tama? So these are the enzymes present. So these are the protein digesting enzymes. Okay, very important. You have the trypsin, and then you have the lipid digesting enzymes, very important. You have the lipase, and then you have the carbohydrate splitting enzymes, very important. You have the amylase, and then you have the several nucleases. Okay, so yan yung mga enzymes coming from the pancreas. So the pancreatic activity is under both the nervous and the endocrine control, no, or the hormonal control. So pancreatic fluid is secreted if we see food. Okay, so small amount lang, no? If we see food or smell food because of the vagus nerve. But most, no, of the pancreatic functions is regulated by the hormones. Okay, these two hormones very important. You have the secretin and the cholecystokinin. So the secretin is produced by the S cells of the enteroendocrine cells in the duodenum. So it's responsible for the production of pancreatic fluid, which is bicarbonate rich. Okay, so ito yung hormone, okay, responsible for the production of this alkaline fluid coming from the pancreas. So what stimulates the production of the secretin is the acidic gastric content. Pag masyadong acidic yung content niyan, tama na? So para hindi masyadong acidic pagpunta dun sa duodenum, kailangan ng bicarbonate-rich pancreatic fluid. Ang may trabaho niyan is the secretin. And then again, this inhibits gastrin secretion. Remember that gastrin stimulates the parietal cells to produce acid. Okay, so ini-inhibit niya yon. Now, another is you have the cholecystokinin. Ayan, the CCK. And this is formerly known as the pancreozymin. Okay, so this is produced or secreted by the eye cells of the enteroendocrine cells. And the function of this is to release pancreatic enzymes from the acinar cells. So, kung yung secretin, ang function niya is to produce the bicarbonate alkaline pancreatic fluid, ito naman ang function niya is to release the pancreatic enzymes. Okay, so what stimulates the production of the CCK? It's the amino acids, okay, the presence of amino acids and fatty acids. Okay, and then pag nakita niya may mga fats, no? So yan, marirelease siya. Okay, and anong function nito? This inhibits gastric, nagdoble, no? Emptying and gastrin secretion. Okay, so pareho sila, no? Okay, pareho yung secretin and the cholecystokinin. Okay. So, yung CCK, this is also responsible for the release of bile from the gallbladder. Okay, itong CCK na yan, para ma-release yung bile for the digestion of fat. So, nakita natin yan sa video kanina. So, functions of the pancreatic fluid, so digestive function, okay, digest proteins, fats, carbohydrates, and we have to add the nucleic acids. And then, of course, the neutralizing function, di ba? This neutralizes the HCl that enters the duodenum. That's because of the presence of the hormones secretin and cholecystokinin. Okay. Now, punta na tayo sa diseases of the pancreas. So, na-mention doon sa video again is the genetic disorder, cystic fibrosis or the mucoviscidosis. And this is also known as the fibrocystic disease of the pancreas. So, this is a dysfunction of the mucus, no, and exocrine glands. This is an inherited disorder, okay, that causes severe damage in the lungs, digestive system, and organs of the body. So this is common in children, and this is caused by the genetic alteration or mutations, no, of the CFTR gene on the chromosome 7. So, ano bang ano bang ibig sabihin ng CFTR? Okay? So that's cystic fibrosis transmembrane conductance regulator protein. So the mutations in the CFTR gene, okay, disrupt the function of the chloride channel, preventing the usual flow of the chloride ions and water into and out of the cells. So usually, 'di ba, ang mga secretions natin, yung fluids ay thin and slippery, but in cystic fibrosis, because of these mutations, the secretions become sticky and thick. Okay. Kaya bumabara, no? Instead of acting as lubricant, these secretions plug up the tubes and ducts, bumabara sila doon, and passageways, especially in the lungs and the pancreas. So the pancreatic ducts dilate, okay? The acinar cells now, okay, produce mucus instead of fluid. Okay, so the pancreas now cannot produce enzymes to digest food, leading now into maldigestion and malabsorption. So, ganun ang nangyayari doon. Na? So this is common sa Northern Europe, okay? And this can be detected through newborn screening or genetic screening. So, anong nangyayari sa kanila? No? So, yung mga mucus nila nagiging thick. Okay, so bumabara doon sa passageway. Okay, bumabara doon sa pancreatic duct. Okay, so prevention of pancreatic secretions to reach the duodenum. Yan ang nangyayari in cystic fibrosis. Okay, next is the pancreatic cancer. Okay, so pancreatic cancer arises when cells in the pancreas multiply and form a mass. So these cancerous cells can invade other parts of the body. So there are a number of types of pancreatic cancer, but the most common is the pancreatic adenocarcinoma. Okay, kaya tanaw na adenocarcinomas of the ductal epithelium. Okay, so usually itong type of cancer nito is around mga itong adenocarcinoma is around mga 90% of the cases of cancer. So, ang ano nito, pain is the prominent feature of the disease. No? So, meron akong dating kasama, she died of pancreatic CA. Ang bilis, no? Napakabilis niya. Okay, so ang ano lang doon, masakit yung tiyan niya. Epigastric pain, masakit. So, akala ano lang, tawag dito, ulcer, ganyan, okay, gastritis. So, umiinom lang ng antacid, yung mga ganon. Okay, so very very ang tawag dito painful according to her, no? So pain is the prominent feature. So if the tumor is in the body or the tail, detection usually is in the advanced stage already, no? So usually stage 4 na, kasi nga undiagnosed, kasi masakit lang yun tiyan, akala talaga yan lang sinisikmura. But if the cancer is in the head of the pancreas, this can be detected earlier because the patient becomes yellowish, naninilaw yung pasyente. Bakit ba naninilaw yung pasyente? Okay? So say for example, this is the head, no? Okay, nandito yung cancer. So this will now block the bile coming from the gallbladder. Okay, tama, no? So barado, ang tawag natin diyan obstructive jaundice, right? Okay, so pag nabarahan yan, okay, so anong mangyayari? Okay, hindi makadaan si bile. So that stays there and that goes into the blood, so the patient becomes yellowish. Tama, no? Okay. So aside from that, no, so ayan, so signs, you have the jaundice, weight loss, kasi nga meron na siyang maldigestion, malabsorption, no, anorexia, na ayaw na nang kumain kasi masakit yung tiyan niya, no. Okay, so again, this can be associated with the post-hepatic or the obstructive, okay, hyperbilirubinemia. So, ano yung mga, aside from the adenocarcinoma of the ductal epithelium, so there's also the tumor in the beta cells. So, this is associated with hyperinsulinism. So, kung mataas yung insulin, usually the glucose decreases. So, there's also the glucagon secreting tumor. Okay, pag ito naman, nandito yung tumor, there's hypersecretion, no? Okay, so hypersecretion of the glucagon, and this is associated also with the DM. Okay? And here now, the Zollinger-Ellison, ito, very important ito, no? The Zollinger-Ellison. So mamaya, di-discuss din natin ulit yung Zollinger-Ellison pag pumunta tayo sa stomach. Okay. So here, okay, ano ba yung Zollinger-Ellison? Okay, so this is a pancreatic cell tumor. So pwede rin siyang, tumor of the duodenum, parang ganyan. Okay, so this is a beta islet cell tumor. And this is associated with the overproduction of gastrin. And again, I said there earlier that gastrin stimulates the parietal cells to produce acid or HCl. Kaya nga, this is associated with hyper secretion and hyperacidity. Okay, and dahil sobrang acid niya, okay, so pagpunta dun sa duodenum, okay, nagkakaroon ng ulcers doon. So there's the recurring peptic ulcer. And this is also associated with diarrhea. Okay. So the triad of the Zollinger-Ellison, so may tumor, may ulcers, and then merong gastric hypersecretion. So yan yung tatlong very important signs and symptoms ng pasyente. Okay. So, symptoms ng pasyente. So now let's move on to the third. No? So first is the cystic fibrosis, the second is the pancreatic cancer, and the third now is the okay, pancreatitis. So there's the inflammation of the pancreas caused usually by autodigestion. So bakit ba nagkaroon ng autodigestion? Okay, pag sinabi mong autodigestion, it means the pancreatic enzymes destroy its own tissue, leading to inflammation. Can be reflux of the bile, no, or the duodenal contents of the pancreatic duct. Okay, bumabalik, no. Okay, o kaya naman pwede ring activation of the digestive enzymes within the pancreatic parenchyma. So, di ba, nakita nyo sa video kanina. Okay. So, lumalabas sila, na-activate sila doon sa may duodenum. Tama? No? So, dito ang nangyayari, na-activate sila doon sa pancreas mismo. No? So, that's why there's the autodigestion of the pancreas. Okay? So what are the risk factors? Ayan, no? So yung mga mahilig uminom dyan, alcohol abuse, napanood nyo naman dun sa video kanina, tama, no? Alcohol abuse, okay, this can be also due to biliary tract diseases, yung gallstones, no? Pag bumara yung mga gallstones mo dyan, so syempre yung bile mo cannot again pass through. Hindi siya po makakadaan dyan, hindi siya makakapunta doon sa duodenum. So pwede siyang pumunta dito, okay, sa may pancreatic duct. Okay? So, mamamaga na ito. So, this is actually what happened to me nung meron akong gallstones. No? Okay, may nakuha sa akin na tatlong, okay, parang green peas yung size ng gallstones ko. And then, masakit na masakit yung tiyan ko. And then, mataas na yung lipase ko. And then, sabi ng doctor, ay, nagsisimula ka na magkaroon ng pancreatitis. Okay, sabi niya. Okay, so here, okay, risk factors, hyper, okay, lipoproteinemia, so yung mga pagkain na matataas ng sa fats, no? So prone yan for this pancreatitis. And then hyperparathyroidism. So anong mataas? Okay, so you have the amylase, the lipase, the triglycerides, and this is also associated with hypercalcemia, especially if the patient has pancreatitis due to hyperparathyroidism. But sometimes, no, this can also be hypocalcemia can also be observed. So bakit nagkakaroon ng hypocalcemia? Okay? So this is caused by the precipitation of calcium salts. So this is caused primarily by the precipitation of calcium soap saan? Sa abdominal cavity. So when the pancreas is damaged, pag nasisira siya, yung fatty acids, the free fatty acids are generated by the action of the pancreatic lipase. And then yung insoluble calcium salts, okay, ay present dyan. So yung free fatty acids will chelate, will bind with the calcium. Yan. Kaya nagkakaroon ng parang calcium soap. Okay, so resulting now in calcium deposition in the abdominal cavity. Okay, so yan yung hypocalcemia. Now, so pag namaga yung pancreas mo, no, so this can actually affect also the surrounding organs and tissue. So pati yung kidneys, no, this may cause kidney failure. So there is what we call as increased PUN, no, in case of pancreatitis. So here now, punta na tayo. So there are two types of pancreatitis. You have the acute and the chronic pancreatitis. Pag sinabi mong acute, it's a sudden onset, no? Masakit ka agad, sobra. Okay, so yan yung ano, 'di ba? Sa ano natin binangungot, no? So that's usually acute pancreatitis. Parang si Rico yan, okay? So that's acute pancreatitis. So acute reversible, yan. So pag naagapan yan, pero bumabalik sa okay, normal form, reversible. Pag sinabi mong chronic pancreatitis, that's irreversible. Hindi na siya, okay, bumabalik. Talagang progressive, pasira na ng pasira. Okay, so very painful daw ito, no? Okay, so uh, pain radiates to the back, dito sa taas, papunta sa likod. Okay, this can be mild, no? So, yung sa akin, mild pa lang yung dati ko eh, no? So, there's mild, okay, uh, to, of course, parang severe type of inflammation. Okay. So amylase is 3 times higher, okay, than the reference range if that is acute. Okay, so maybe you discussed this already in your lipid lecture. Nana? Okay, so here naman, to differentiate the acute pancreatitis from the chronic pancreatitis, so dito yung amylase and the lipase may be elevated. Okay, yung lipase mo may be elevated with normal amylase. So kung tumaas man yung amylase and lipase dito, ay hindi ganon ka taas unlike in your acute pancreatitis. And the most common predisposing factor for the chronic pancreatitis is alcohol consumption. Okay? So yung mga umiinom diyan, bawas-bawasan na ang pag-inom ng alcohol. Okay. Now, punta na tayo, na? So, you have the malabsorption syndrome. So, pag sinabing malabsorption syndrome, hindi na-absorb yung pagkain. So, we discussed naman kanina, no? So, very important yung mga pancreatic enzymes. They play very important role in the digestion of fats, of your, tama na, fats, carbohydrates, tama, protein. So, pag hindi na digest yung mga ito, no? The carbohydrates, the protein, and the fats. So, of course, they cannot be absorbed. Tama, no? So, kailangan maano sila ma-digest into their simplest form. So, kailangan pag carbo yan, glucose yan. Tama, no? Kailangan pag protein yan, amino acids yan bago siya ma-absorb, no? Kailangan pag yan lipids yan, tama, no? Okay, so dapat fatty acids, parang ganun, bago siya ma-absorb. So, pag hindi siya na-digest, that cannot be absorbed, right? Okay, so what are the causes? So yan na nga, no? Pancreatic exocrine deficiency, or what we call as the pancreatic exocrine insufficiency. So pag sinabi mong pancreatic insufficiency, nandun yon. Baka cystic fibrosis, baka pancreatic cancer, o baka pancreatitis. Okay. So here now, you have the biliary obstruction. So bakit nagko-cause ng malabsorption? Kasi walang bile. Tama? So remember, nakita niyo sa video, very important yung role ng bile doon sa fats particularly. Tama? No? Bini-breakdown niya, okay, into small, okay, uh, simple form. Okay. So paano mo malaman kung may biliary obstruction? There's jaundice. This is associated with jaundice, naninilaw yung pasyente. And clay-colored stool. Tama? No? So pale. Okay. Kasi hindi na-convert, okay, yung bilirubin into urobilinogen, and that was not converted into stercobilinogen. Okay, and then your stercobilin and urobilin, these are responsible for the brown color of stool. So kung black yan, so wala kang stercobilin and urobilin. So your stool now will be clay colored. Okay, and then of course that's associated with bilirubinuria. And then, of course, okay, another okay, condition associated with malabsorption syndrome is the intestinal disease. Okay? So baka yung intestine hindi makapag-absorb. And we are going to go into that later. So mamaya aaralin natin ano ba yung mga sakit associated with this. No? Okay. So, sabi natin dito, pag malabsorption syndrome, hindi ma-absorb yung protein, hindi ma-absorb yung carbohydrates, sorry for the spelling, na, okay, and lipids, okay? So, anong gagawin nyo? Okay, so, dapat ma-absorb siya, tama? So, mamaya, ang gagawin natin, we are going to check ano ba yung mga tests para malaman natin that the patient cannot, okay, absorb proteins, cannot absorb carbohydrates and lipids. So, mamaya, pupunta tayo dyan sa tests, no? So, also, if there's malabsorption syndrome, syempre aside from this, hindi rin siya makapag-absorb ng electrolytes, ng water, ng vitamins A, D, E, and K, the fat-soluble vitamins, hindi siya makapag-absorb ng vitamin B12. That's why, okay, merong condition mamaya which we're going to discuss, yung mga conditions na uh, anemia, no? Anemia. So remember that the vitamin B12, ang purpose of this vitamin B12 is for the development of red blood cells. So kung wala ka nito, hindi mo na-absorb ito, this will result into anemia. Okay, pupunta tayo dyan mamaya. So what are the signs and symptoms na hindi ka nakakapag-absorb? Ayan. Siyempre, abdominal bloating, discomfort, no? Bulky yung stool mo kasi hindi na-digest. Tama? Na? So, hindi na-digest, hindi na-absorb. Malodorous or foul smelling, and weight loss. Kasi hindi ka nakakapag-absorb ng mga nutrients and the vitamins. Kaya nga 'di ba, pag may si Steve Jobs, tama, no? Kita niyo, sobrang payat. So, mga pasyenteng merong pancreatic diseases, sobrang payat kasi hindi sila makapag-digest. So, pag hindi na makapag-digest, hindi ma-absorb yung food, the nutrients. Okay. So, these are the tests. So, very important tong tests na to. Okay. Yeah, of course, the lipase and the amylase, you discussed this, right, in your lipid profile. So, aside from the lipase and the amylase, these are the tests that will detect diseases of the pancreas. So, the detection of malabsorption, we have the D-xylose, fecal fat analysis. Mamaya, aralin natin yan. Okay. Measuring other exocrine function, the secretin, the CCK. okay, fecal fats also. And then detection of the extrahepatic obstruction, it can be bilirubin, and then the endocrine related tests. So now we are going to concentrate on the two, now the detection of malabsorption and the detection also of the exocrine function. Okay. So first test is the secretin and the CCK test. Okay. So paano na nga ito? Saan na nga ito? Ano na nga ang purpose ng secretin kanina? Okay, this is responsible for the okay, presence of the sodium bicarbonate. Tama na? Okay. And then the CCK, this is responsible naman for the release of the okay, pancreatic enzymes. Tama na? Okay. So, yan yung mga functions nila. So, dapat bago tayo mag-discuss ng test, alam na alam ano yung mga functions niyan. Okay. So, this measures the exocrine secretory capacity of the pancreas. So, yan yung purpose nito. Tingnan natin kung nakakapag-release ba ng pancreatic enzymes ito. Tama? No? Okay. So, protocol, paano ginagawa ito? Fasting for 6 hours yung pasyente or overnight fasting. Pagkatapos niyan, magko-collect ng specimen. This is invasive. No? Kaya ito hindi masyadong gusto ng mga tao kasi this is invasive. Pag sinabi mong invasive, no, yung tube ipapasok hanggang doon sa duodenum. Okay, so may tube yan, ipapasok doon. So, ang specimen mo dito is duodenal aspirate. Okay, the fluid coming from the duodenum. Okay. So, anong ginagawa? So, fasting para walang laman, no? Okay. And then, kukuha basal, meaning this is tawag doon, parang yung reference na, okay, reference. Ito muna before, okay, stimulation. So, and then after that, magbibigay intravenously ng secretin. Okay? So, yung dosage, depends on the kilogram, no? Depends per kilogram ang bigay. Okay? So 2 to 3 units per kilogram. Okay, ganun lang siya kakonte, and then followed by giving also of CCK. So this is like stimulation. Tama na? Okay. And then after that, okay, kukuha na ng specimen. So collection of duodenal aspirate, 30 minutes. Okay, and then after that, 60 or 80 minutes after stimulation. So, ganun ang ginagawa dyan. So, this is just or, no, 60 or, okay, 80 minutes. And then, okay, ano nang gagawin doon? Okay, so, yan, no, kukuha ng duodenal aspirate and then examine yan for pH, the secretory rate, the enzyme activities. So, titingnan yung amylase, lipase, ganun, no? Okay. And then ito very important, you have the sodium bicarbonate. Kasi naglagay ka ng secretin eh. Tama? Remember that the purpose of this is for the production of the sodium bicarbonate. So ang expected result natin dito, pag binigyan mo na yan ng secretin, dapat tataas ito. Tama? Pag binigyan mo yan ng secretin, tataas dapat yung pancreatic enzymes mo kasi naglagay ka ng CCK. Tama na, naglagay ka ng CCK, dapat tataas yung iyong enzymes. So remember, anong function yan? So ganun yung dapat, no? Pag nag-discuss ka ng test, dapat alam mo kung anong function ng bawat ito. So ito, function niya, dapat mag-increase yung sodium bicarbonate. Ito, function niya, dapat mag-release ng pancreatic enzyme. So i-compare mo, no, yung basal before giving the secretin and after giving the CCK, no? Then after, no, before and after you compare. Okay? So kung mababa, low concentration of bicarbonates and enzymes, meaning to say, yung pancreas mo may problema. Na? So that indicates, of course, no, impaired pancreatic function. So cystic fibrosis, pancreatitis, pancreatic cyst, or pancreatic cancer, or calcification, basta problem in the pancreas. The pancreas cannot, okay, release sodium bicarbonate and enzymes. Yan, no? So that is our secretin and the CCK. Again, this is used to assess the pancreatic exocrine secretory function. Okay. Okay, so that's the first okay test, no? Another test is the fecal fat. Okay, test or fecal fat analysis. So the amount of lipids in the feces, okay, so is around, pag lipid free yan, 1 to 4 grams per 24 hours. Okay, doon sa Strasinger hanggang 5, no, magkaiba. So, in this ano, wag kayong malilito ha. So, yung mga values that I'm going to use ay bishop. Okay? Bishop. Okay. So, hindi Strasinger, na. So, for pag kumain ka naman ng lipids, no, lipid rich, okay, not more than 7 grams per 24 hours. So, yan yung normal value. Okay? So, if there's increased fat in stool, ang tawag natin dyan steatorrhea. And that indicates malabsorption of fats. Hindi na-absorb si fats. Na? Okay. Now, so causes of fat malabsorption, okay, can be exocrine pancreatic insufficiency. So anong sinabi natin kanina? Pag sinabi natin exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, that can be cystic fibrosis, pancreatitis, or pancreatic cancer. No? So hindi nakakapag-function yung pancreas mo. Okay, so ano bang function yan? So dapat alam na natin yung functions niyan. No? So you have the exocrine. So that's the release of the enzymes, pancreatic enzymes. So wala siyang enzyme. So this can also be because of the disease of the small intestine. So mamaya pupunta tayo dyan. Okay? So eto naman, pwedeng na-digest, pero ang problema is in the small intestine. Hindi makapag-absorb. Okay? That also leads into severe steatorrhea. And then, of course, can be biliary obstruction. Tama? Na? So, alam na natin yung function ng bile kanina. So, napanood natin yan sa video. Okay. So, ano yung test? Paano ginagawa yung test? No? So, you have the Sudan staining for fecal fat. So, lalagyan natin ng stain. Kukulayan natin. Okay? So, the stains that we are going to use, so either you have, pili ka lang dito, but the commonly used is the Sudan 3. Okay? So these are fat-soluble stains. Okay, well, pwede kang pumili dyan. Okay. So anong gagawin mo? Okay, so this is the neutral fat stain. So dalawang dalawang slides. No? The first slide, okay, is for the neutral fats. This is for the triglycerides. So remember that the triglycerides or the neutral fats can be stained directly using Sudan. Okay, so mix mo lang with the 95% ethyl alcohol, and then you have the Sudan 3, and then count mo na yung large orange red droplets kasi ang normal value is just 40 to 50 small. Tama? Maliliit. No? 1 to 5 micrometer, okay, droplets. Micrometer yan ha, hindi yan millimeter. Kung millimeter, masyadong malaki. So, ngayon, paano natin malaman kung 1 to 5? Yung ating basis dito is the RBC. Tama? So, yung RBC natin is around mga nasa 7, okay, micrometers. So, eto, mas maliliit sa RBC. Ganon dapat siya. 40 to 50, mas maliliit sa RBCs. That's normal. Okay, that's normal. Pero kung malalaki yan, no, so increase in size, okay, number, no, so mas marami sa 50, tama? Okay, kaya dito sa Bishop, doon sa module nyo, nakita ko yung module nyo na sinulat ni Ma'am Kat. So greater than 50 ang nakalagay sa kanya. No, in Strasinger naman, it's greater than 60. Okay? So, dito tayo sa Bishop, gamitin natin si greater than 50. Pagdating sa AUBF, greater than 60. At malalaki. Yan, malalaki. So, yan, nakita niyo yan, may malalaki talaga siya. No? Mas malalaki kaysa sa RBC mo. Okay, these are the fat globules. Malalaki siya. No? Okay. That's abnormal already. So pag nakakita ka ng malaking ganyan, tama, no? Tapos marami, increase in number and size. Okay, tapos maabot pa ng hanggang 100 kasi nga fat globules 'yon. Okay, hindi na digest. Tama, na? So that's abnormal already. Okay, kaya nga pagka na dito, pag positive dito, that indicates actually maldigestion eh. Hindi na digest kaya malalaki siya. Okay, now, the second part, na the second slide, okay, kaya dalawang slides, no, is what we call as the split fat stain. Okay, so this is a measure of total fecal fat. Kasi ang gagawin mo dito, lalagyan mo siya ng acetic acid. No? Okay, kaya ma-hydrolyze yung lalabas yung fatty acids from the soap. No? Okay, hydrolysis of the soaps and the neutral fats. Okay? So, because of the acetic acid, as lagyan mo ng stain, tapos i-heat mo pa talaga siya. Right? So, ang mangyayari niyan, so, makikita mo will be mga small, maliliit. Okay, so normal is less than, okay, or up to 100 small droplets, less than 4 micrometers. Okay, pag steatorrhea yan, or increased fats, greater than 100 droplets, at malalaki siya, na 6 to 75 micrometer. Okay? So, ganyan yan. No? And then, para ma-complete yung picture, okay, tingnan mo kung merong meat fibers. Kasi meat fibers, presence yan. Okay, ibig sabihin, hindi rin nakapag-absorb. No? Okay? Hindi nakapag digest. So mix with 10% alcohol and solution of AUCin for 3 minutes. And then titingnan mo, bibilang ka ng undigested meat fiber. Okay? Greater than 10. Okay? Undigested meat fiber per slide. Malalaman mong undigested meat fiber yan kasi meron siyang striations. Vertical at saka horizontal striations. Na? So, yan. Pero may asterisk yan kasi commonly, ito lang, pag sinabi mong fats, eto lang, neutral fats at saka fatty acids. Tama na? Okay. Kasi yung meat fiber, protein yan eh. Tama na? Okay. Sama lang natin to kasi sa Bishop na sinabi niya na in steatorrhea, you can also see presence of undigested meat fibers. Okay. Yan. Na? So now, yan yung qualitative. I-stain mo lang siya. Tama na? Okay. Now dito naman, i-measure mo talaga. Okay. And the reporting is in grams of fecal fat in 24 hours. Okay, this is quantitative. So, sa urinalysis, pag sinabi mong quantitative, 24-hour yun, 24-hour urine. In stool, it's 72-hour stool collection. Kaya ang lalagyan dito, ang laki talaga. No? Okay, lalagay mo lahat ng stool mo in 72 hours doon. Okay, quantitative fecal fat. Okay. So wag kayong mag-alala, hindi na 'to masyadong ginagawa. Nasa may marami ng mga tests, okay, other than this, no? Sabi dito, newer methods now, you have the okay, infrared and nuclear magnetic resonance spectroscopy. Okay. So, but again, discuss lang natin, no? Kasi binibigay ito sa exam. So, ang specimen, pag sinabing quantitative, wag kang okay, wag mong kakalimutan, that's 72-hour specimen. Okay? 72-hour specimen. So, yung iba, no? Kasi yung iba, baka mamaya in 72 hours, hindi pa nagdudumi, no? So, that can be extended up to, okay, up to 5 days. Yan. Itong 72 hours kasi ano yan eh, 3 days. Tama? 3 days. Ayan. Okay? So, anong gagawin? Pakakainin ng madami yung pasyente. Okay? Na daming fats. Yan, lipids. Okay, pakainin. And then, kasi titingnan mo eh. Tama? No? Titingnan mo kung nadadigest niya yan o maa-absorb niya yan. So, pakainin mo siya ng marami. Okay? So, usually nasa 50 grams, 100 grams of fats a day. Okay? And then, okay, yung methods na gagamitin ay, ito yung mga traditional methods which we are going to discuss today. You have the gravimetric method and the titrimetric method. So, paano ginagawa yan? So, yung gravimetric method, madali lang, no? Okay, madali lang. So, 3-day period, 72 hours. Tapos, refrigerate yan. Okay? And then, i-emulsify, ano lang, feces and the water. And then, after that, i-acidify, no? Para ma-convert yung mga fatty acids, no? To free fatty acids. And then, i-extract mo lang, gagamit ka ng organic solvents. Yun ang problema dito, no? Sa gravimetric and the titrimetric method. Kung magamit ng HCl, usually ito, na sa acidification. And then, the organic solvents. And then, after that, pa-evaporate mo. So, what will be left will be just the lipid residue. Okay, and then i-weigh mo yan. So 1 to 7 grams, okay, that's the normal value. More than that, that's steatorrhea. Okay, and then you have the titrimetric method by Van de Kammer. Okay, so saponification. Ayan. So, ano ba yung saponification? Lalagyan mo siya ng hydroxide. No? This is a process by which the triglycerides are reacted with the sodium or potassium hydroxide to produce glycerol and a fatty acid salt called soap. Kaya nga saponification. Tama? And then after that, okay, i-acidify mo. Just like yung kanina. Pareho lang acidify and then i-extract. No? So, ang difference lang ito dito, may saponification. Okay. So, yung difference nila ng gravimetric at saka ng tetrametric method. Okay? So, yan. And then, extract mo din, pareho din, i-evaporate. And then, of course, you're going to titrate, no, the fatty acids with your sodium hydroxide. Kaya nga, titrimetric method. So, ang difference again, okay, this measures only the saponifiable fatty acids. So, ang result nito is lower than the gravimetric method. So, yeah, so approximately 80% of the total fat content is measured by titration. Okay, so where dun sa gravimetric method measures all the fecal fat. Okay? So, yan. Ang problema lang dito sa dalawang ito ay again, okay, gagamit ng corrosive, mga HCl and flammable solvents because of this, no? Okay, organic solvents. Now, let's move on to the next test. You have the sweat electrolytes determination. So this is the measurement of the sodium and the chloride, particularly chloride. Okay, in sweat. So this is the most useful test for the diagnosis of cystic fibrosis. So usually in cystic fibrosis, there is elevated sodium and chloride. Okay, meron nga akong nabasa, sabi, nalalaman daw na may cystic fibrosis kasi pag hinahalikan daw ni mommy, si baby, na medyo maalat-alat si baby. Na? Okay, because there's the increased sodium and chloride. So the sweat chloride in children is usually above 60 millimole per liter. Okay, so that signifies now cystic fibrosis. So again, bakit mataas ang chloride in cystic fibrosis? Because of the defective chloride channels. Na? So we discussed this earlier kanina. So yeah, elevated the sodium and chloride daw in the sweat. Okay, 99% of patients with cystic fibrosis. Okay, very, very important test ito. Paano ginagawa? Okay, sabi mo, paano kinokollect, ma'am, yung sweat? Tama na? Paano ginagawa? Dati, nung unang panahon, no, binabalot yan siya ng plastic. Okay, ang part ng ano ng pasyente para magpawis. Pero ngayon hindi na ganoon, no? So ang ginagamit na in the collection, remember this is a collection procedure, is the pilocarpine iontophoresis. So the pilocarpine is actually tawag dito is a medication, is a medicine, it's a drug, no? That can be used to tawag dito, induce sweating. Yan, pag nilagay yan dun sa pasyente, okay, mag-sweat yung pasyente. Na? So, this uses electric current that causes the pilocarpine to migrate into the skin area. Ayan, inside the forearm. Ayan. So, this uses electrodes. Ayan, gamit niyan. And then after that, no, pagkatapos niyan, so ang ginagawa dito ano yan eh, yan, huhugasan muna dapat yan. Tapos lalagyan ng electrodes yan, dalawang electrodes na yan. Tapos yung pilocarpine nandiyan sa isa diyan, no, gel, okay, para pumasok doon. So yung weak electric current pushes the medicine papasok. Okay, para ma-penetrate. Pa yung iontophoresis, ginagamit yan ng mga derma pampaputi, na mga ganyan, no? Para pumasok yung gamot, madaling pumasok yung gamot. Okay? Pag-penetrate yung drug na ginagamit ng mga derma. Na? Okay. So, ayan. Pagkatapos niyan, a special sweat collection device is then attached to the skin. Ayan. Pagkatapos niyan, syempre yung sweat glands ano na yan, mag-stimulate. So magpo-produce na yan. Pupunta na yan. Meron siyang parang collection device. So dati ang ginagamit ay gauze pad. No? Lalagay yung gauze pad dyan. Tapos pagka nagpawis, mag-a-absorb dun sa gauze pad and the gauze pad will be brought to the laboratory. Ngayon may collection pad na mayroon na siyang collection device na ganyan. So mga 30 minutes, no? Okay, hanggang sa ano yung malagyan ng sweat yung collection device. So yan, no? So that's in the board exam, para sa AUBF yun, tinanong how is pilocarpine given to the patient. So yung mga choices doon, mga intravenously, mga ganon, no? Okay, orally, mga ganyan. So hindi, it's by iontophoresis or the use of the electrodes. Okay. Now, another enzyme, you have the trypsinogen. Okay, so trypsinogen is an inactive precursor produced by the pancreas. Okay, so that is converted into the enzyme trypsin. Okay, so anong ginagawa dito? Ano bang specimen natin dito? No? So, alam naman natin na normally, yung ating trypsinogen is produced, sabi nga natin kanina, by the pancreas, transported to the small intestine. So in the small intestine, doon siya nako-convert into yan, trypsin. So trypsin is one of the enzymes responsible for breaking down the protein in the food, okay, into smaller pieces called peptides. Tama? So naaral niyo naman yan sa protein metabolism. So ito, okay, the immunoreactive trypsinogen, okay, is measured in the blood of the newborn. No? Okay. So this is also a screening test for cystic fibrosis. So ang mangyayari niyan, no, if there is cystic fibrosis, alam naman natin, there is the poor release from the pancreatic ducts. Tama, no? Hindi siya nakakalabas kasi blocked. Tama, no? So, anong nangyayari doon sa cystic fibrosis? The pancreatic ducts are partially blocked, leading to the abnormal enzyme drainage. Hindi makalabas. Okay, so it goes into the blood. Okay, kaya mataas sa blood. This is elevated in the blood in cases of cystic fibrosis. Okay. Yan, no? Dami. Okay. So, next is the, yan, amylase. So, ito naman, alam na alam nyo na ito kasi, di ba, naral na natin, na ninyo to sa lipid metabolism. So, this is not specific measure of pancreatic function. Tama, na? Okay. So, but this is useful in the diagnosis of acute pancreatitis. So this is freely filtered by the glomerulus kaya pwede natin gamitin yung urine amylase. So ang problem dito, no, madali siyang tumaas, no, rise to 12 hours. Now, pero pag nag-exam kayo sa lipid metabolism, ano yun yung oras, minsan kasi paiba-iba tong oras nito. So ito, the peak is at 24 hour, pero nagno-normal na siya 3 to 5 days. Okay? Kaya medyo ayaw nila minsan gamitin tong amylase kasi madali siyang mag-normal na 3 to 5 days. Okay, so kaya mas maganda yung urine amylase kasi mas matagal. No? So remains elevated up to 14 days. But remember, pag yan ay urine amylase, that's affected by the glomerular function. Tama? Na? So, para to correct that, no, para ma-correct mo yung problem with the glomerular function, you're going to compute for the renal clearance of amylase. So how are you going to compute for the renal clearance of the amylase? So madali lang yan, no? Urine amylase, tama? Okay, times over the serum amylase times serum crea, okay, over the urine crea. Okay, ganyan lang siya times 100. So this is the formula for the computation of the renal clearance. So the normal value less than 3.1%. If that's increased, 8 to 9%, that indicates acute pancreatitis. Okay. Now, of course, the lipase. Ayan, naaral nyo na yan. Tama, no? Okay. So, this increases in serum about as soon as amylase in acute pancreatitis. Kaya lang mas maganda ito kasi mas matagal siya. Ayan, no? Increased levels persist longer. So, ayan. Remains elevated longer than the amylase. So the level decreases in 8 to 14 days. Unlike yung 3 to 5 days, tama na? Okay, nagno-normal na siya. So kaya mas maganda ito kaysa doon sa amylase. Okay. Of course, you discussed that in your lipid. Now, the last here for the pancreatic function, diba? Ang daming tests, no? Okay. The last here is the fecal elastase. So ito, ginagawa na nila ito kasi nga kit lang siya, madaling gawin. Okay, bakit ka pa magta-titrimetric, titrimetric at gravimetric kung meron namang ganito, no? Parang kit lang. So, elastase is a proteolytic enzyme produced by the pancreas also. No? So, this survives, okay, in the intestine, okay, and this is around mga 5 to 6-fold concentrated in the stool. Kaya ang specimen natin dito ay stool. Okay? So, yeah, this will also detect cystic fibrosis in the okay, um, children. So, normally, nakikita ito sa poops sa stool. Tama? Na? Okay, mataas siya sa stool. Pero pag, yan, or greater than 200 microgram, okay, per gram is a normal value. Okay, yan ang normal. Pagka may moderate pancreatic insufficiency ka, 100 to 200. Pag severe pancreatic insufficiency, less than 100. So, hindi ibig sabihin, hindi siya nakakalabas, no? Hindi siya nakakapunta doon sa intestine at papunta doon sa stool. Okay? So, ganyan lang yan. Fecal elastase. Okay? So, cut ko muna to and then para hindi masyadong dami.